When we are looking for people, we're looking for intense, hardworking, smart people who want to be part of what we're doing. So passion is a part of it. Just plain old smarts, sort of high IQ, brainy people. We really like that. Word of mouth is incredibly powerful online. If you make a customer unhappy on the internet, they won't tell 5 friends. They will tell 5,000 friends on Usenet news groups and listservs and so on. Likewise, of course, if you can make a customer happy by meeting or exceeding their expectations, they can also tell 5,000 people and therefore, be evangelists for you. They can use the internet as a megaphone.
Hey, I'm Stephen and this is Solving the Money Problem. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. So in this video, we're winding the clock back to 1998, one of the very first long format talks given by Amazon founder and CEO Jeff Bezos. In the 22 years since this talk was given, Amazon stock has grown by over 42,000%. Yes, 42,000% in just over 2 decades. Absolutely insane. But this growth is no accident. It's the result of a visionary, intellectually gifted, scientifically literate founder executing against what he saw as an enormous opportunity. Wait, am I talking about Jeff Bezos and Amazon or Elon Musk and Tesla? You're smarter than you look. That is exactly the point of this video. I'm going to contrast some of the comments made by Jeff Bezos 22 years ago that gave enormous hints into the future of Amazon with Tesla and this same kind of long-term visionary thinking and identification of an enormous inevitable opportunity. This is going to be a great video for those wanting to gain a little bit of insight around Tesla and their future by looking back into the past and picking up a few clues and breadcrumbs from somebody else who's since gone on to build one of the world's largest companies with no end in sight. And in the interest of full disclosure, for those of you who don't know, Tesla stock is the number 1 position in my stock portfolio by miles, and number 2, Amazon stock. Fancy that. And speaking of stocks, hey guys, if you're in the US and you'd like 3 free stocks, yes, 1, 2, 3 free stocks, check out the link in the description to WeBull. Open a new account and fund it with $100 and you'll get 3 free stocks, 2 of them valued up to $1,600. And if you're in Australia, the UK or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake also using the link in the description. Let's get back to it.
How many people here have been to Amazon.com? You just raise your hands. Has anybody bought anything at Amazon.com? Yeah, okay, that's not bad, thank you. We really appreciate that. And after the lecture, I invite those people to come up to me and get a handshake of thanks, and also I'd love to hear how we can improve the customer experience for you.
Right off the bat, Jeff already soliciting feedback from Amazon customers on how to improve their experience further. The 2020 equivalent? Elon Musk tweeting out to his tens of millions of followers on Twitter for suggestions of features to include in Tesla's forthcoming pickup truck. By the way, I highly recommend reading this thread on Twitter. You'll find that the vast majority of amazing features on the Cybertruck were the result of customer suggestions. This is how you really improve things. Connect directly with your customers and ask what they want.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about Amazon.com, a little bit of the story of sort of how it came to be. The company was conceived in the spring of 1994. I came across a startling fact. In the spring of 94, web usage was growing at 2,300% a year. Now you have to keep in mind, human beings aren't good at understanding exponential growth. It's just not something we see in our everyday life. But things don't grow this fast outside of petri dishes. It just doesn't happen. And when I saw this, I said, okay, what's a business plan that might make sense in the context of that growth?
This is a phenomenally important point. Many people don't really understand how ill-equipped human brains are to understand exponential growth. I mean, our human experience, we've evolved over hundreds of thousands of years and we don't encounter exponential growth. It's only with the advent of technology that we're really seeing this crazy stuff, and our brains simply cannot process it. This in turn means that if you react emotionally and follow your gut feeling about stuff, instead of following the numbers and the implications, you're likely to miss enormous opportunities. To illustrate how ill-equipped our brains are to intuitively understand exponential growth, here's an example. If you take 30 linear steps, each 1 meter in length, you will end up 30 meters away from your starting point, close enough to throw and catch a ball between 2 people unless they're extremely weak and can't throw very far. And what if instead of taking linear steps, you took exponential steps, doubling in length each time, 1 meter, 4 meters, 8 meters, 16? Well, brace for impact. You would move far enough to go to the moon and back and then start doing laps around the earth. I'm not actually joking. How does this apply to Tesla? I'm glad you asked. See, the key core costly technologies in each of their products, solar panels, batteries, and the computers powering everything, are all following predictable declining cost curves, meaning you don't actually need a time machine to be able to accurately predict things like the cost and capabilities of your products at a future point in time. Just follow the numbers. It was only a few years ago that most people were doubting Tesla's ability to ever deliver a mass market, affordable electric vehicle. Why? Because they were following their intuition instead of looking at the data. And now today we have those same geniuses doubting Tesla's ability to ever solve fully autonomous vehicles, or at least not in a realistic time frame, because once again, they're going with their intuition instead of the numbers.
Being able to do something online that you can't do in any other way is important. It's all about the fundamental tenet of building any business, which is creating value proposition for the customer. And online, especially 3 years ago, but even today and for the next several years, the value proposition that you have to build for customers is incredibly large. And that's because the web is a pain to use today. We've all experienced the modem hang-ups and the browsers crash, and there are all sorts of inconveniences. Websites are slow, modem speeds are slow. So if you're going to get people to use a website in today's environment, you have to offer them overwhelming compensation for this primitive infant technology. And I would claim that that compensation has to be so strong that it's basically the same as saying you can only do things online today that simply can't be done any other way.
The parallels between an early online bookstore and electric vehicles, absolutely phenomenal. Just imagine that instead of talking about the difficulties of browsers, crappy internet connections, all of this kind of stuff, even cumbersome interfaces and difficulty processing a transaction to buy stuff online, contrast that with the early adopter of EVs. Oh, they're so expensive. Oh, the range isn't as good as an internal combustion engine. Oh no, where do I charge up? There's no network. What was Tesla's solution? Make the best car the world has ever seen. Literally, Model S wins every award ever. Amazing performance, phenomenal features, incredible product, safer than any other vehicle made. That is how you drag people into this new technology in the early days. Tesla's strategy from day one was literally to make the world's best vehicle, not best electric vehicle, best vehicle, to bring in those early adopters, and obviously by doing so, they would allow themselves the time and the capability for the technology to evolve, improve, and drop in cost even further. This has been Tesla's strategy from day one. Make a superior product and a superior experience, and compel people to make the transition, even if it's new and different and there's a few challenges in the early days.
I believe that the primary success factor for Amazon.com has been an obsession over the customer and a focus on customer service. This is clearly important in any business, but especially important online. And the reason for this is that word of mouth is incredibly powerful online. If you make a customer unhappy on the internet, they won't tell 5 friends. They will tell 5,000 friends on Usenet news groups and listservs and so on. Likewise, of course, if you can make a customer happy by meeting or exceeding their expectations, they can also tell 5,000 people and therefore, be evangelists for you. They can use the internet as a megaphone.
What are you talking about, Jeff? As if anyone uses the internet to share their thoughts and opinions about companies, products and services, and as if anyone listens to those opinions and thoughts about said products, companies and services. You must be high. In all seriousness though, credit where it's due. Jeff has amazing vision to recognize how important word of mouth is online. Again, this video is from 1998, 22 years ago, before some of you were even born. And as this relates to Tesla, so powerful is word of mouth that Tesla has never spent a cent on advertising because they don't need to. As I've said 1 trillion times, the more Teslas Tesla sells, the more Teslas Tesla sells, because every time a customer buys a Tesla, they become a raving, lunatical fanboy / fangirl.
One of the great things too online is that the customers help you figure out what you're doing wrong and how to do things better. Email is this great medium for receiving feedback, because somehow email turns off that little piece of everyone's brain that causes them to mostly be polite. So what happens is, if you go into a restaurant and have a bad meal. Very rarely, you're trying to have a good time. I never go into the kitchen, grab the chef by the scruff of the neck and say, you know, you really shouldn't be cooking. But online with email, that will happen in a heartbeat. And we've benefited greatly from that and have, I believe in the 3 years that we've actually been doing business, I suspect we've received more feedback, both positive and negative, people helping us improve our service than probably most business establishments have received in the last 20 years.
This is a really fantastic point from Jeff. And by the way, shout out to everyone who's provided me some of that feedback in the YouTube comments over the last year. I appreciate it all. Now, I know this is going out on a limb here, but bear with me with this crazy theory. But I think that Elon Musk realizes how important it is to get direct feedback from your customers, fans, and haters. Maybe you've noticed that just once in a blue moon he might tweet, or occasionally he'll even do a podcast or an interview with some fanboys and fangirls rather than a major television network who are just going to ask them FUD and have nothing useful to contribute to the conversation. I don't know, maybe you have noticed that. I certainly have. Call me crazy, but here's a prediction. Over the next 10 years, the CEOs who spend the most time inside their ivory towers, away from their customers, unable to connect directly and solicit feedback and valuable insight and ideas, are the CEOs who are blindly and inevitably steering their companies towards inevitable bankruptcy, especially in the automotive industry.
What people don't see, sort of behind the scenes at Amazon.com, you can see a lot of things on the website, but you can't see the stuff, the software development and all the effort that goes into the back-end tools.
I swear, Jeff is talking about Tesla right now. It was only a few weeks ago on the Q3 earnings call that Elon Musk disclosed that Tesla doesn't even use enterprise software because they've coded their own solution in-house. Most people who look at Tesla the company, especially from the Wall Street and the mainstream finance media perspective, think they're an automotive manufacturer. They have absolutely no idea how fundamental software is to everything they do.
Amazon.com is very much a technology company. In fact, I think of us in many ways as sort of a small AI company.
Take notes, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff is definitely talking about Tesla right now.
Artificial intelligence is something that's gotten a bad rap. And there are some good reasons for that and some bad reasons. One of the bad reasons is that once the AI guys work really hard and accomplish something, it's not AI anymore, it's just a parlor trick. What's interesting is there's some very simple but sophisticated techniques that are working well to help people discover things online, like collaborative filtering. I'll talk a little more about that in a minute. But this is all subterranean, so we're starting to do things on our site now that aren't very visible, like customize the home page for particular customers using their past activity and their stated preferences to guide us. And
Whoa. Hold up there, Jeff. Hold up. So you're telling me that you're using customer behavior to collect data to train your AI to make your product or service even better. Isn't that what Tesla's doing with their full self-driving, releasing this, having their customers collect data? Every time they intervene, it sends information back, trains the full self-driving AI and makes it even better? Well, fancy that.
You don't even notice this unless you sit right next to someone and see that their version of Amazon.com is slightly different from yours. We've just started doing this. This is something we've wanted to do forever. And the goal is to make the perfect store for everybody. We don't have to have the average store for the mythical average customer. We get thousands of email messages from our customers every day, and there aren't any great off-the-shelf inbound email center software packages yet. There will be. So we've had to write our own. In fact, about 85% of all of our software development to date has actually gone into the back-end systems that are completely invisible to customers. It was interesting, too. One of the things I was most worried about is that Amazon.com for 2 years had been a company with virtually no competition. At this point, we already had over 300 employees. And so we were sort of, I didn't know whether all the employees were ready for competition and whether, in previous jobs and so on, people had always been in competitive environments and it was a competitive group of people. But we let our mantra be that we were going to obsess over our customers and not our competitors. So we would watch our competitors, learn from them, see what things they're doing good for customers and copy those things as much as we can. But we were never going to obsess over them. And that became our watchword. And it's actually worked very well. Since Barnes & Noble launched their site, we've gone from having a revenue run rate of about $60 million a year to a revenue run rate of having $260 million a year. This has happened in just 10 months. We have also gone from having 340,000 customers to having over 1.5 million customers in that same period of time. And I am convinced that, I mean, there are two things. A company like Amazon.com can only compete against a much larger company if you really do offer a better service.
I swear, once again, Jeff is talking about Tesla. The only way for them to have competed with these enormous entrenched automakers was just to make a product that absolutely shits all over anything they can offer. And what do you know? Tesla did exactly that. Next minute, their market cap is more than any other automaker on the planet by miles. Why? Well, because instead of making the same polished turd over and over and over, Tesla went with a clean blank slate and said, how can we make the world's best possible vehicle? They did that. Then they thought, how can we now scale this platform to an even larger mass market vehicle with the Model 3 and then the Model Y? They did that. Cybertruck's coming soon. Once again, shits all over any comparable pickup truck by miles. You see where this is going, right? Excellence leads to dominance.
We know by anecdotal evidence, focus groups, and quantitative research that there are three things that are important to our customers: selection, ease of use and convenience, and price. And so every day we work on making sure that each of those three things are better at Amazon.com than they are anywhere else. And then I think the thing that makes it work for us is the word of mouth, and it's that 58% of repeat customers every day, the 58% of orders from repeat customers. Those people are our evangelists and help us sign up new customers. And see, I would say the most interesting thing, though, is that I firmly believe this is day one. This is a time when we know very little about e-commerce and very little about e-merchandising. There's a huge amount to be done.
Come on, mate. Day one? What are you talking about, you fucking idiot, Jeff? Next minute you're going to tell us the stock's going to go up 42,000% over the next 22 years, moron. Day one? What is he talking about? Oh, that's awkward.
There are other techniques that can be used. People think that neural networks are going to be valuable in this space.
What do you get when you combine a scientifically literate, technologically aware, visionary founder who's at least 4 standard deviations above average on the intelligence spectrum? You get Jeff Bezos talking about the potential impact of neural networks in terms of artificial intelligence and improving customer experiences back in 1998, before many of you were even born.
There are other simpler, but sometimes the simple things work best, just simple statistical techniques that can be used. There are genetic algorithms that can be used. It's, you know, these are a lot of this, what's going to be done is a lot of experimentation, and we're going to find out what works best.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, I'm hopeful that Amazon.com can continue to be a pioneer in electronic commerce and electronic merchandising. There are lots and lots of stories of companies that were pioneers and then disappeared from the face of the earth. VisiCalc is a great one that, you know, that entrepreneurs should have nightmares over. Their business was taken away by Lotus, and then, of course, the same thing happened to Lotus when Microsoft took their business away. So we are going to work like crazy to expand, not to defend the territory we have now, because I think that strategy wouldn't work.
So let me get this straight. Aggressive scaling and diversification of products and services. So totally unlike Tesla, because they're not growing fast and they certainly only have one product and service. They don't make electric vehicles that in the future will become robo-taxis that will also be able to do energy market participation and energy arbitrage and make money for you while you sleep. They definitely don't also put some of the batteries that go in their vehicles into home energy storage. They certainly don't also have solar products. They certainly don't also have an insurance product. That, you get the point, right?
What happens if you just do that is that this is a scale business. This is a business that only works in large size because of their large fixed costs and and very low variable costs. And so what you need to do is have a business of a sufficient size so that you have the right purchasing power and the brand name that's self-sustaining. And really, I think if we work on that, combined with the discovery technology that I was talking about earlier, if we can do those two things in the next 5 years, that will be a huge success, and Amazon.com will all be able to be very proud of ourselves. When we are looking for people, we're looking for intense, hardworking, smart people who want to be part of what we're doing. So passion is a part of it. Just plain old smarts, sort of high IQ, brainy people. We really like that.
Now here I was thinking it's much better off to hire dumb, unmotivated, passionless people. Each to their own.
And people who can hire other great people. When I interview somebody, I actually spend about a third of the interview asking them questions designed to ascertain whether or not they can hire great people. So it's sort of the meta interview, and that. Different businesses have different criteria, but in this business, we've reached an interesting inflection point where I would say 70% of the risk now to Amazon.com is execution risk. So it's inside the company. It's our ability to stumble. We've basically gotten past the point where 70 to 80% of the risk was external and where we needed a huge amount of luck to get to where we are now. Now, all we need is a clear, consistent vision and the ability to execute on it very, very well at high speed. And that second piece comes from having large numbers of talented employees with lots of executive bandwidth to help guide them. And so, individuals do not win. We're very lucky we have unarguably the most talented venture capitalist in the United States on our board. It's a guy named John Doerr. And John is very, very, all the time talks about the fact that teams win, individuals don't. And we have built a great management team and a great group of people underneath that. And if you look at companies like Microsoft, that's the main way that they've won too. If you look at all their assets, they've got more than $10 billion in cash in the bank. They've got an operating system, which is a virtual stranglehold on the industry. And I would say all those things are great. But the thing that really makes them such an awesome competitor, and the reason that they have the position they have today, is because they don't just have Bill Gates. They have 40 people at the top of that company who are smart and dedicated and hardworking. And if you look down below that sort of incredibly deep executive team, they've got more people that are waiting in the wings to take on that kind of responsibility. So we're trying to build that kind of team at Amazon.com. We've got a great start, and we do have 1,000 entrepreneurs at Amazon.com.
Just for context, Amazon had 1,000 employees in total when this talk took place. So Amazon really, with that startup entrepreneurial culture, reminds me a lot of comments that Elon Musk made recently on the Tesla earnings call, suggesting that Tesla is about a dozen startups. And now finally, another taste of the incredible long-term vision of Jeff Bezos back in 1998. As you hear this final clip, each time Jeff uses the word book, replace it in your mind with the word car.
Your first question, what's the future of the book? I firmly believe that at some point, the vast majority of books will be in electronic form. I also believe that's a long way in the future. And the thing that holds, many more than 10 years in the future. And the reason that that gets held back today is that paper is just the world's best display device. It turns out that today, with the state of the art in display devices, dead trees just make the best display devices. They're higher resolution, they're portable, high contrast. And so someday computer displays will catch up with that, and then I think electronic books will be extremely successful.
I swear Jeff could have been talking about battery technology rather than a display tech, paperback book versus electronic. It's the exact same analogy. How was he able to infer that in the future ebooks would be a thing, they'd be viable and economically feasible? Because he understood the technology and the trends and had the intellectual capacity and actually took the time to infer what that would mean about the future. This is vision. This is how major disruption and innovation happens. Taking a long-term view, inferring based on all the available information today what will be technologically possible in the future, and then working backwards from that point to develop the technology to actually make this a reality. I hope you guys have found this video insightful and enjoyed seeing some of the parallels between Amazon and Tesla. This is why I'm so interested in these two companies. Visionary leadership, technological understanding, gigantic brains, great execution, going after enormous opportunity that, truth be told, even today, most people still can't even see. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan. This is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. And don't forget, if you're in the US and you'd like 3 free stocks, check out the link in the description to WeBull. Open a new account and fund it with $100 and you'll get 3 free stocks, 2 of them valued up to $1,600. And if you're in Australia, the UK or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake also using the link in the description. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, if you have any ideas for future videos, let me know. I read all your comments. PS, if you're still watching, you're awesome. If you'd like early access, exclusive videos, regular Q&As, our private Discord server and more, consider supporting the channel at patreon.com/solvingthemoneyproblem so I can keep creating content for you guys. There's a link in the description. You can now also become a member of the channel for some exclusive perks. To learn more, click the join button next to subscribe. And don't forget to check out our merch store. Either way, the best form of support is you being here and watching, so thanks again.